Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the Online Series 11 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we used a really fun team with offensive Dialga featuring Blizzard, as well as special Life Orb Dragapult, so we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Thanks to TSL Tang for the team, details are in the description below, and let's just get started. First game of the day, and we're up against Zacian, Zapdos, Landorus, Urshifu, Lapras, and Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is probably one of my least favorite Pokemon to play against, just because like screens give so much value, especially if it's like Light Clay dual screens. So, and Lapras I think is also really scary here. So we could look to potentially Dynamax Regieleki. I do have to wonder whether or not it's actually dual screens Grim, because you also have Lapras on the team. Could see being eject button. Dragapult's mainly nice in eliminating Zacian. Could see my opponent leading like Lapras Landorus, I think is actually a very good lead for them. Which would make me want to go with like, I don't know, Whimsicott plus Urshifu. Dialga. I mean, I want to bring Dragapult, but I just think their best max option by far is Lapras. And if they max Lapras, Dragapult just really can't do very much into it. Whereas, like, Aleki can, like, we can fake tiers with Whimsicott and then just Thunderbolt or max lightning the Lapras. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. Either way, thanks so much as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I'm curious what areas in battling in general in competitive VGC you struggle with, whether it be something like team preview or making good predictions or making like the safest play. So let me know your answers in the comment section below, and yeah, let's get started. It's gonna be Lapras, or sorry, it's gonna be Landorus plus Zacian. Okay, not bad for Urshifu. I think the play I lean towards turn 1 is just Tailwind into Surging Strikes. Landorus can max Airstream here, which is scary. Oh, I guess the thing is that you could so easily switch Landorus out into Lapras right now, right? That is something to worry about. I want to close combat it so badly, but the thing is I could also see them just max Airstreaming here. Okay, I definitely should Tailwind here. Like, part of me doesn't want to, but in the chance that they stay in with both Pokemon and just go for, like, Behemoth Blade and max Airstream, that would be really bad. So, I do think I will just Tailwind and Surging Strikes here, even though I think that Landorus switching out into Lapras is a pretty big possibility here. Yeah. I still am okay with this because now oh, they go into Zap. Oh, it's going to be Rocky Helmet. Okay. That makes me wonder if they even brought the Lapras then. You would think so, but this is definitely Rocky Helmet plus Static. Oh my gosh. It's not Rocky Helmet. And we avoid a Paralysis. Wow. Well, that's really lucky, I would say. That is not how I expected turn 1 to play out at all. And they Sacred Sword into Urshifu. Wow. I feel like we got away with a lot on that turn. Like the worst case was them bringing in Lapras, right? And they bring... Okay, so they didn't bring the Lapras in this game. That I'll gladly take. I'm just going to Moonblast and Surging Strikes into Urshifu here, I think. Yeah, the fact that they weren't Rocky Helmet... Okay, they go for Detect, but that's fine, because Surging Strike still goes through Detect. So I could have split my damage there, but the idea is that I just deny Urshifu from attacking here right now, right? Maybe they'll Aqua Jet the Whimsicott next turn, so that's something to watch out for. But I could just switch Whimsicott out. We might even just pick up the knockout through Detect here. Oh my goodness. This is the strength of Choice Band Urshifu. Oh, looks like an invisible focus band there. That's wild. Okay. So they're going to hang on with the Sliver. They're going to get the Sacred Sword off. The thing is, Aleki right now is very useless for me. It's not necessarily a Pokemon I want to have right now. Oh man, that surviving was actually such a big deal, because if it gets knocked out there, I just bring out Dialga and I can just Fake Tears, Max Hailstorm, KO Landorus, and just win the game right there. Now, if you're my opponent, you should probably Aqua Jet the Whimsicott slot. Oh, but you know what I can do is bring out Dialga. All we need to do is make sure they don't knock out Whimsicott here. for free. And so, like, while Urshifu is scary, you know, at best you can close combat. And also, I said Aqua Jet, but they're Dark Urshifu. Meaning it's actually very safe. Let me just double check the field state. 2 turns of Tailwind left. It is very, very safe to go for Fake Tears here. Max this thing, and then just max Steel Spike. Yeah, you can't switch Landorus in safely against that. I am really surprised they didn't play towards Lapras in this game, but I guess they probably just were afraid of its damage output into Dialga. Like, Dialga kind of outbulks it. But I think Grimmsnarl and Lapras were the 2 Pokemon I was actually most scared of, just because of their ability to set up Reflect and Light Screen, or Aurora Veil in the case of Lapras, 3G Max Resonance. Okay, so we'll get the Fake Tears off. What I didn't want to do here is like Moonblast into the Urshifu and get hit by a Sucker Punch. Yeah, exactly. So they go for Sucker Punch, which is going to fail. And this is just by far our best play. Even if we don't KO the Zacian here, it's honestly fine, because now I'm in a position to potentially even get another Tailwind up. But that's just going to be a knockout. Beautiful. And now I can just go for Fake Tears and Hailstorm into the Landorus slot. So, yeah, the fact that Zapdos like wasn't Rocky Helmet made things easier, and the fact that we didn't get affected by static. I'm assuming it was static, right? I don't think we saw pressure, but I honestly looked away for a second, so I don't fully remember. And because we got the defense boost via Steel Spike here, I think we should just win the game now. Because Fake Tears plus Hailstorm, just double checking, we have 1 more turn of Tailwind left. Yep. Fake Tears into Hailstorm should get the knockout onto even a AV Landorus, yeah. I was just thinking, is there anything funky you could do where you can like max guard Landorus there, and then I don't even get the Hailstorm off, and then crit close combat into Dialga. So that's actually an option I didn't do a great job covering for. And the thing is, Regieleki was useless for us in the back, right? Because it can't hit Landorus, so I have to be very careful about just like their late game Landorus win condition. So yeah. I guess they could max guard there, but even then, I don't even know if a crit close combat knocks out Dialga, and if it doesn't, well, the thing is you could, like, crit close combat and a crit Sucker Punch is scary, so may have been better to actually split my damage there. Yeah, like, I don't know, we could have Moonblasted the Urshifu and then Hailstorm the Landorus, then, like, yeah, I guess if Urshifu, is that always the best play? Then I still risk a crit Max Quake into Dialga. So, just trying to think if there's any way we could guarantee the win even around a critical hit. Maybe it was... Actually, I mean, around a crit, not really. So I'd rather just target Landorus because their Max Quake is stronger than a close combat. So, yeah. Well, but either way, let's just look for another one. Alright, second game of the day, and let's see what we've got here. It's going to be... Oh, very cool. It's going to be a Groudon Sun team, but no Venusaur. Instead, it's Shiftry, Hitmontop, Tapu, Koko, and Salamence. So... those are all Pokemon you don't see that frequently in this format. I think Dialga's really, really good, especially because of Max Hailstorm. One of the main reasons to run Max Hailstorm is to let you have an advantage in matchups where your opponents have weather. I think I generally like Whimsicott and Dialga here. Urshifu for Surging Strikes. I don't know. Regieleki is interesting. I don't love NDD. Like, I lean towards Dragapult just because he can launch like a really strong Draco Meteor or even Shadow Ball / Fire Blast. It could even be a max option depending if like the leads go really poorly for us here. But the idea is like we don't really need NDD for redirection, especially because there's so many spread type attacks on my opponent's team. Regieleki is really weak to Groudon and would get trapped in against it. That could be really bad, and it's way too frail. So we don't want to really lead either of those. Now, the only awkward thing about leading Whimsicott here is that they have 2 Fake Out users in Shiftry and Hitmontop. But the thing is, if you lead one of those Fake Out users, what's your offense going to come from, right? Maybe Shiftry Groudon, that's probably the scariest thing. But if they go Shiftry Groudon, I can probably just go for a Max Hailstorm. Like, we'll survive a Max Quake. We can Hailstorm to KO the Shiftry. I actually think Shiftry Groudon is probably their strongest lead, now that I'm thinking about it. And, like, I don't know if I covered for that 100%, but Whimsicott Dialga still has, like, answers into it. It's not, like, terrible. I'm also curious how fast the Groudon is. Yeah, and they go for Shiftry Groudon, okay. So they recognize that as their best lead. Well done. I don't think Ginity or Regieleki solves any issues for us here. The main question then on turn 1 is, like, what does their Groudon go for? Do you double up onto the Whimsicott, or do you just target the Dialga slot here? Because you obviously would want to deny me a Tailwind right now, right? I definitely want to max Hailstorm, but the question is whether or not I want to switch Whimsicott out right now. Because I think if I conserve Whimsicott, it really can just sweep through everything. So, for example... Oh, you know what's... Okay, I was going to say if they max Flare, it would be interesting, but I really do think they Quake here. Maybe it's fine to split it here. Like, I think I am down to just go for Tailwind, Max, and Hailstorm. Actually, the issue with this play is if they end up going for Fake Out Max Flare... Okay, so they're going to Max Groudon. That's fine. Did I have any better lead into Shiftry Groudon? Oh. That is interesting. I did not see that as a possibility. Okay. I don't know if it's actually that scary, but, I didn't think Shiftry would ever be the max option here. I don't even know it's like moved, like what is it going for here? It's incentivized for, like Max Knuckle maybe? So the idea was Max Knuckle and a Precipice Blades with Choice Band Groudon? That would actually make a ton of sense. Oh dear. Okay, it's Max Airstream. I'm actually okay with that though, right? Because it's like, I get a Max Hailstorm off into your Shiftry. I still outspeed your Groudon, presumably with Dialga. And I change the weather. So Shiftry is going to be slower next turn. Okay, they're Life Orb. Yeah, that's honestly fine. That is honestly a-okay. Good thing I didn't switch Whimsicott out there. Like, that could have been really bad for us. Oh my goodness, that poor thing. Sorry, Shiftry. And I think this is like the element of surprise of Blizzard, aka Max Hailstorm. Like, it's just so strong as a max move, and Shiftry is super, super frail. So, I mean, that worked out as well as possible, and they even missed Precipice Blades on... Was that Dialga? Oh, wow. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they were Choice Banded there, so they probably would have done like 60-70%. Yeah, truthfully, even if that were the case, we'd be in an amazing spot anyway. I think now it's actually nearly impossible for them to win, since I can just bring in Surging Strikes and Groudon can't protect in front of it, and then Dialga can just outspeed anything coming next to the Groudon. So, they would have needed to crit Precipice Blades there, I think, to really be scary, but because but the miss obviously just makes this game so hard. They're also not Intimidate on Hitmontop, so it's Technician. Interesting. Okay, well, I'm just going to Surging Strikes Groudon here and go for a Hailstorm. They don't have a switch it into Hailstorm. Yeah, they don't have a single Ice Resist. Wow, okay. So, let's just go for that. Because Hailstorm is 180 in terms of, like, the power is just double because it's super effective. Wormwind is 150, and then you have same type attack bonus. But I don't really need an attack drop on Hitmontop right now, so yeah, I'm down to just Surging Strikes and Hailstorm. Hitmontop can only click Fake Out into Urshifu. Yeah, Groudon switches out, maybe in a Charizard. Oh, it's actually Salamence, okay. That's cool. But what makes this so tough is having Hailstorm. I think if I didn't have Hailstorm, this would actually be a completely different game, right? Because my opponent, it makes like so much sense for my opponent to, also I didn't know if I needed Surging Strikes Groudon there, because I wouldn't be surprised to see Rocky Helmet here either. Okay, but it's not. I feel like we've been pretty lucky today where I ran into both Zapdos and Salamence expecting Helmet, and neither of them actually were, so that's been good. But I don't think that was actually the best play on my end, just because, like, well, unless they were Assault Vest Groudon, and that's what I was worried about. My last Pokemon is Dragapult right now. Oh, they're just going to triple Axel. Okay, so it might be Wide Lens Hitmontop. That's also a possibility. Especially if they're going for that over, like, a Close Combat or a Mach Punch. Technician, Mach Punch, triple Axel, maybe. Makes some sense. Yeah, the miss was obviously unfortunate, though. But I think it made me realize that my play last turn wasn't the best, because I don't think I ever need a Surging Strikes Groudon if I'm going for Hailstorm onto that slot. Unless it's Assault Vest, I guess. Because if you're AV, let's say you fake out Urshifu and you survive Hailstorm, that could get a little bit awkward. I'm just going to switch out into Dragapult here and then go for a Hailstorm onto the Hitmontop. Actually, I should just target Groudon here, right? Yeah, I don't think I played these last two turns super well, but I think it's also tough for my opponent to really do much, even if they like pick up a double KO here. But that being said, like you should never like give your opponent a chance to get back into the game, right? So like, yeah, I think the last two turns were a little bit careless because I could have just like picked up a free knockout and I missed one on Hitmontop and potentially one on Groudon here. Okay, so Precipice Blades will double connect. Yeah, that looks like choice band damage to me. Oh, actually no, that was a crit. Okay. Crit is scary. There's close combat. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying, right? Like, I risked the crit there, whereas if I stayed in with Urshifu, well, if Urshifu gets crit, that's also pretty bad. But, like, this is why I should have probably just eliminated Hitmontop earlier. The fact it's, like, because I have to worry about, what, close combat into a, Precipice Blades will just one-shot me here, so I actually have to target Groudon. So that means if they actually get another crit here, they can just outright win. And they might have Mach Punch because it's not Intimidate. They messed up there. They went all in. They needed a close combat there. So this is what I mean, right? Like, I actually, like, could have lost here. And this should have been a guaranteed win as soon as Shiftry went down. So, like, I didn't play this endgame well at all. Like, not targeting Groudon was really suspect. They did have Sucker Punch there. I'm curious if they had Sucker Punch or Mach Punch. Because if you go for Sucker Punch there, then I don't think close combat into Hail into Sucker Punch actually knocks out Urshifu anyway, so we were probably fine. But the reality is that I could have lost to 2 critical hits, potentially. And maybe Dragapult gets KO'd by the crit anyway, but yeah. Like, there they were basically hoping to Sucker Punch into Precipice Blades. Like, Sucker Punch to... Like, well, actually, you don't even need to worry about breaking Sash because Hail is up, so... for my opponent, like, the play is always to close combat Precipice Blades and just hope that I target the Hitmontop, Precipice Blades then would just KO Urshifu, and if I target the Groudon, then you can crit close combat or just do enough damage where maybe a Sucker Punch the turn after KOs. I think we're probably still fine, but like, I don't love how I play this endgame at all, because like, I didn't need to go for Surging Strikes and Hailstorm into Groudon. If it were Assault Vest, like, I guess maybe, but then AV Groudon wouldn't really one-shot us there. And then like, I think switching in Dragapult was a little bit suspect as well, especially because we did end up getting hit by the critical hit there, so yeah. I mean, it was a definite unfortunate Precipice Blades miss on turn 1 onto Dialga. Like, that just made the game a lot easier for us to play. But this is one in which, like, even if you have a major advantage, like, you always have to consider how your opponent can come back. I didn't do a very good job of that. And, like, as always, you want to ask yourself, like, how you can play around any potential RNG. And really, I think the play was to just Hailstorm or even Steel Spike into the Groudon slot while going... Actually, we did have a... No, we didn't have a defense boost, right? Yeah. I was just trying to figure out if the Groudon was choice banded there or not, because choice band makes a lot of sense with that Shiftry. Because that, like, otherwise I think Groudon is a much stronger max option on turn 1 generally. But yeah, that was a really cool team. So let's just keep it going. All right, third game of the day. I'm still a little bit upset about how I played that game. That was just really bad. Like, that almost could have been a throw. So in the end, we were able to win, but it was one that was not. It did not give me much confidence. So. Yeah, working on end games is always important in Pokemon, making sure you don't like just throw away a match that you essentially have sealed up. Like after, it's unacceptable to ever lose that game after turn 1. Like it should be 100% won if we make the absolute correct plays, which I did not do. I guess the other thing is I don't know my max Hailstorm calc into Groudon, but either way, yeah, I wasted a bunch of attacks in that one. Anyway, let's not dwell on that one and move on to this game. It's going to be Zacian Rain. A lot of scary stuff here because you have Tailwind support from Talonflame. Thundurus with potential Eerie Impulse. I honestly think this is a Max Alecki game. I like Max Alecki. Like, ideally I Tailwind, right? The only awkward thing here is I don't know what kind of Thundurus set that's going to be. I feel like it's more likely to be offensive than defensive. I just don't know what the best lead is here. Like, I honestly like Whimsicott, Alecki, Dialga in the back, and then Urshifu as the 4th. I guess the awkward thing here is that, like, we can both match Tailwinds. They could go Talonflame and Thundurus. Talonflame Thundurus would be interesting. Because if you go Talonflame Thundurus, like, one play I could make is just Fake Tears Max Lightning into you turn 1. I do also have to respect it being defensive Thundurus here. I'm just like assuming it's offensive because of the max options on their team. Only like otherwise your only max option is Kingdra, but Seeing this lead does scare me a little bit. Huh. We think it's Dynamax Thundurus. Like, I can just go for Fake Tears into Max Lightning on Thundurus turn 1 and just KO that. But the thing is, if it is Eerie Impulse, it would be so bad for us, right? I don't know, though. Like, Max Airstream into Behemoth Blade here does make some sense. Okay, I think I will just try to eliminate Thundurus immediately. So I'm going to go Fake Tears into Max Lightning. This is, like, a little bit risky, so I don't know if I'd always recommend this play. It's just me trying to kind of use like process of elimination, looking at my opponent's team and saying, okay, well, if Thundurus is not a Dynamax option, like literally your only max option is Kingdra, I guess Politoed to some extent. But if like they are Assault Vest and they're forced to Dynamax on turn 1, this is good for us, right? Okay, they do max good. This is one in which, like, if my opponent even had one more Pokemon that was a good max option, like Landorus, I would probably be a lot more hesitant to make this play. But because they don't, like, Thundurus really is only the best max option for them here, I can make this play with more confidence. Now the fear is that they survive a Fake Tears into Magnet Max Lightning because they have Assault Vest. That's a beautiful protect, actually. So now even if they survive, I think it's actually totally fine. But if they don't, the game's just over on turn 1. Or it would be a similar situation to last game where, like, it theoretically should be over, but I need to not, like, make mistakes like I did in the last one. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Part of the thing is that, like, they don't have any immunities. So your best switch in there would be a Ferrothorn, but honestly, Ferrothorn probably takes, like, 80+% to a Fake Tears Max Lightning. So this is really interesting because back in Series 8, like, the trend was Dynamax Alecki picking up towards the end of the format, and partially because it creates scenarios like this, right? So they bring out Ferrothorn, that's fine. I mean, you have no resistances out at this point. You can just Fake Tears the Ferrothorn here and Lightning the Zacian. Yeah, so I'm glad to have featured this mode of the team because we didn't really use it like yesterday. Like, Ferrothorn's not really that scary, especially once I get these Fake Tears off, because, like, you're going to typically Iron Defense Body Press. Max Lightning here should just get the 1-hit KO, right? Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, like, this is why Landorus is a pretty common Pokemon in this format, because otherwise, like, now with the trend of Dynamax Regieleki getting pretty common, it's just so strong. And without a ground type or any resistance or immunities, like, you know, nothing, like, no Lightning Rod user, no ground type Pokemon, there's just nothing my opponent can do, truthfully. Like, Lightning in Electric Terrain will one-shot everything right now, so I'm just going to Tailwind and then go for a Lightning onto Ferrothorn. Like, I think the main thing is if you can knock out your opponent's Dynamax Pokemon before they get more than one attack off, that typically gives you a huge advantage, right? So that's, once again, that's why, like, that end game of that second one kind of feels inexcusable to me, where it's like there's no world in which we should ever lose that if we make better plays. But yeah, this is one in which, like, I just made somewhat of an aggressive prediction on the first turn in the sense that, like, okay, even if you're defensive Thundurus, I'll still get the knockout onto you even if you Eerie Impulse us, right? So it's not even the end of the world. Actually, I don't know if it's a guaranteed 1-hit KO if you're like Calm, Max HP, Max Special Defense, maybe not. But the idea here is that, like, we use Team Preview to our advantage, right? We recognize that they mainly have support Pokemon. Like, Politoed, Ferrothorn, Talonflame, none of those... I mean, I guess Talonflame could max, but it's still not a very good max option. Zacian obviously can't max, so then you're stuck with Kingdra and Thundurus. That's like, if it's defensive Thundurus, and you're maxing Kingdra in every game, and Kingdra's not consistent enough of a Pokemon to, like, rely on Dynamaxing in 100% of your matches. So, Talonflame can max to an extent there. May have been better for my opponent, but they just didn't have very good Alecki answers, and I think turn 1 they just went all in on hoping for me to target Zacian, and then, I don't know, maybe get a Max Airstream off there. But this is where Fake Tears really made a big difference. So yeah, Whimsicott plus Alecki can be so oppressive, and in a Dynamax format it's really good to put on the pressure if your opponent doesn't have any resistances or immunities, and we were able to take advantage of that. So yeah, it's been a fast couple game, so let's look for one final one. Alright, final match of the day, and it's going to be Kyurem White. Very cool. Okay. I feel like we haven't seen that many, like, really unique restricteds in the format yet in Series 11, so it's always fun to go up against things like Kyurem. Okay, I mean, Dialga generally is a really good matchup here. Dragapult with Draco Meteor in itself is powerful, because, like, we could actually theoretically knock out Kyurem with Fake Tears and a Draco Meteor, which I think is pretty cool. I think it's probably the bottom 4. Indeedee has felt, like, I haven't really done a good job bringing it, but just hasn't been the right matchups for it. I don't think we really need Helping Hand support from it here. And then Alecki is just really, really bad into Landorus in itself, and then also, like, not very good into Kyurem. The main reason I'd want to bring Alecki is for a single Electro Web speed drop onto Kyurem. That's basically it, because it's not going to be a damage dealer in this game. I expect my opponent to just go, like, you could just go Whimsicott Kyurem. Whimsicott Alecki would be interesting as well. So I think I'm going to go Whimsicott Dragapult, because with Dragapult, you can't drop my speed with Electro Web. And it's relatively flexible, because, like, let's say they go with Whimsicott and Kyurem. I could probably just go for, like, Tailwind and then Draco Meteor turn 1. Just get a huge amount of damage on a Kyurem, where then it's probably in KO range from, like, a Moonblast. So, having special Dragapult here is pretty cool. No, I guess if we were physical and they had, like, Whimsicott Kyurem, Dragon Darts would also just do a ton of damage, but yeah. Drag's also pretty good because into Regieleki, like, Electro Web can't drop our speed. And then, like, I think ideally, also they ran really close to timer there, so if they lead Whimsicott Kyurem, yeah, so, like, there is the possibility that maybe they also timed out here. So we'll see. Either way, though, I think having 2 dragons is nice in this matchup. They're going to go Kyurem-Alecki. Okay. Kyurem and Regieleki is interesting because what you can do is obviously switch your Kyurem out into Whimsicott turn 1. I've got max Airstream, but I really don't want to max Dragapult right now. I feel like Kyurem could make the risky call of staying in here, which would be really interesting. I'm definitely down a Tailwind on the first turn. Also, there can only be one Focus Sash on my opponent's team here, which is also interesting. Like, I want to just go for Tailwind here, and honestly, Draco Meteor the Alecki slot, I think. Because if we can just knock out Alecki, that's huge. And I think Kyurem here switching into Whimsicott is a pretty big possibility. So it's one in which, like, I don't have a really safe play, right? Like, if I Draco into Kyurem and they just switch into Whimsicott, well, actually, I guess Alecki, like, can't really drop our speed on Dragapult anyway, so maybe that's fine. Oh, and they're going to stay in. Okay, nice call. I'm still okay with this, though, right? Like, I get Tailwind up. If you're not Sashing Alecki, I'll just get a KO onto that, and then I can just bring out Dialga. But this is an aggressive prediction on their end, right? Like, because if I had just theoretically max Dragapult and max Wormwind and Kyurem, game's probably just over on turn 1. So they recognize that this is a tricky matchup for them, and they're making a good play to try to, yeah, get out of what is kind of an awkward spot. And I think that's really smart. I really like that on their end, honestly. Okay. So we get the Draco here onto Regieleki. Are you Focus Sashed? You're not. Okay, so we get a 1-hit KO there. That's nice. That makes me think Kyurem is Sash, Alecki's Magnet. Sorry, Whimsicott Sash. Kyurem is Life Orb, if I had to guess. It's going to be Hailstorm into Dragapult. Okay. So, I mean, I get a free switch into Dialga, which should theoretically favor us. See if it's Life Orb here. Yeah. Yeah, I do think we just go into Dialga here. Like, there's an argument to make to just actually max Wormwind Kyurem on turn 1, because even if they switch into Whimsicott, we don't lose that much, because then you have Whimsicott Alecki out on the field. But without knowing the item on Kyurem, like, it could be Assault Vest. I don't love the idea of attacking into an AB Kyurem, not KOing it, and then having it KO us in return. But that was a very nice call on their end, right? Like, I also think maybe it was better to just Draco into the Kyurem, because I don't think Alecki is actually that scary, but the thing is, you have to consider them switching Kyurem out into Whimsicott and then Volt switching with Alecki. So the thing is, now with Whimsicott out, they can obviously go for a Tailwind of their own, and then they can go for a Max Quake onto Dialga. I almost wonder if Max Starfall would one-shot Kyurem. If I knew that calc off the top of my head, and the answer is that it is a KO, I would actually go for it. How funny would that be? Man, that seems so wild, but like... could be the play here. No, okay, I'm just gonna Moonblast Max and Wormwind. I don't know though, if Max Starfall from Whimsicott's actually a KO, like I would go for that every time, I think, because then I can just get a KO onto it before Kyurem can do anything, and then just Blizzard also knock out Whimsicott, and then it's just a double knockout, right, to win the game. I just don't think Whimsicott picks up the knockout with Max Starfall, which is why I'm not going for it. Its base special tech is not really incredible. Wish I had Taunt right now. Ooh, okay. Oh no, is it Trick Room from their Whimsicott? That's the one thing I was nervous about. Oh, they just Moonblast us. Oh, you know what? That's still smart though. Because you waste a turn on my Dynamax, and now you can just Tailwind again this next turn. The question is still whether or not a Max Quake KOs us, but I think that's a great play on their end. Max Wormwind in itself. Oh, actually, I don't know if it KOs after a special defense boost on Kyurem. I'm assuming they have Max Quake. They also could Max Hailstorm Whimsicott here. And then, like, you could Tailwind and then Max Hailstorm Whimsicott. That was a great Max card. That was really, really good. Kudos. Yeah, I almost want to switch out here in a Urshifu. Maybe that's questionable. Maybe that is questionable. I mean, there is a chance they just Moonblast my Whimsicott slot here, but yeah, I think you have to Tailwind this turn at least. The thing is, I wanted to conserve Whim for another Tailwind. They did just Quake here. Wow, that was so much damage. This Kyurem's a beast. Yeah, I definitely feel like I had the matchup here, but I got outplayed very heavily by my opponent. Like, they made a really nice call on turn 1 of the game. The Max Guard was really risky there as well, because if I just target... Oh, we don't even knock out Kyurem there. Wow, that was kind of underwhelming damage. I mean, obviously they have a special defense boost, but I honestly am still kind of surprised by that. Okay, then that actually just wins them the game, I think. I just thought Wormwind would be a KO because it was base 150 there, but kind of underestimated Kyurem's bulk. Unless we survive Moonblast, actually. If we survive Moonblast, maybe it's still okay. Max Quake was just so strong there. I don't see us surviving Moonblast. I guess we'll find out. The thing is that this is also admin Urshifu, so Kyurem probably outspeeds us, honestly, as well. So, yeah, I think switching out... The idea of switching out Whimsicott was to get another Tailwind up in this game, but I don't actually think that makes much sense anyway. Yeah. I don't think Crit Aqua Jet really accomplishes much here. Surging Strikes, I think, would pick up the knockout on a Kyurem anyway, so I mean, I'm down to go for that. And then... I also could have Max Guarded here. Max Guard Aqua Jet? I don't really love that play. Okay, they Moonblast into Dialga. I assume Kyurem outspeeds us here, because we're not max speed. Yeah, okay, they do. Yeah, they played this game really well. I made some really weird plays, I feel like. But, like, kudos to them, right? Because, like, turn 1, we could have just won the game, kind of like the last couple of games, by maxing the Dragapult on turn immediately. I think, like, I should have just stayed in. If I stayed in with Whimsicott, I could have gone Moonblast Wormwind into Kyurem. I just really thought Wormwind was going to be a KO even with the special defense boost, which was a bad assumption on my end. So, like, at least if we pick up that knockout, you know, I'm curious what their final Pokemon was in the end. But I think they did a lot of really smart plays here. They staggered their Tailwind relative to mine. The Max Guard on Kyurem was risky, but paid off really heavily. That was one in which, like, was it an obvious Max Guard? I wouldn't say 100%, because, like, they could just Tailwind Max Quake there. But then the thing is, I guess Moonblast plus Wormwind is probably... I don't know if it's actually a KO there. But, yeah, this is not a good matchup for them, and I think they very heavily outplayed me. So, props to them. Like, I definitely made some questionable plays, but I also think they made some really nice plays, right? Like... The turn 1 play, for example, was one in, like, that highlights that sometimes you just need to make high-risk, high-reward plays. Like, yeah, if I just max Dragapult and Wormwind there, I probably would win the game on turn 1, but the incentive there for me to not do it is because I didn't want to waste a max move, and I thought a Whimsicott switch in there was likely, right? So they did a great job recognizing, hey, this is already a pretty tricky matchup for me because I am going up against 2 different Dragon-type Pokemon, so I have to play aggressively. Like, playing safe is not going to help me win the game. So not only did they recognize that, they went for, like, the perfect play on the first turn. And then, yeah, I think, like, me switching out Whimsicott was questionable in this one. And then the Max Guard play was also really good because if I call the Max Guard and I just Steel Spike into the Whimsicott there, then they don't get a Tailwind up, and then Dialga just can double up on a Kyurem the next turn. So I think this is an example exactly how you need to play a matchup that's kind of bad. And like this heavily favored us in team preview, but my opponent just made really, really great predictions to get themselves out of a tricky spot. So yeah. A game like that's one in which like I get frustrated at myself, mainly because it's like I just like feel like I didn't execute the matchup properly. So then the question is whether or not it was worth it to max Dragapult on turn 1, because even if they switch out Whimsicott, I could just Airstream into Moonblast it the subsequent turn. But the problem, like I mentioned, is if they switch into Whimsicott turn 1, turn 2 and then they Volt Switch out into Kyurem, turn 2 they max or protect Kyurem, and then turn 3 switch Kyurem out while Tailwinding. Like, that's another way I could have seen the game going, so I didn't really want to push my luck with Dynamaxing on turn 1. But, you know, that was my opponent making really, really good plays. So, yeah, props to them. Anyway, that was a fun set of games today, so thank you so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.